Welcome to the June episode of From the Mayor's Desk, featuring our man here, Tim Woolley, Mayor of the City of Taylor. Tim, I understand this is a big day in your family.
Yeah, today is my daughter Sarah's birthday.
Okay, and she is what now?
She's 23.
Okay.
You know, so she's our baby, you know. It's, shows we're getting up there in age, you know, but she's doing really good. You know, she's in her final year. She's doing a 5-year master's program at Eastern, which she got a scholarship for, which we're very proud of her. And she's going to be a CPA by December, and she'll be graduating. So
and she had a good internship, didn't she?
Yeah, she had a real good internship. Yeah.
So, who was that with?
She actually interned with Plant Moran.
Okay. All right. And that worked out real nice for her?
Yeah, she had multiple companies, and you know, at the end of the day, we were just kind of, you know, and she said, you know, I think I want to go with this one, and I said, I think they're a pretty good company, you know, but
exactly.
They also do our auditing, so I had to say, you know, hey, you can't, you know, be a part of that, but she's on the tax side of it right now, so she's out of the Ann Arbor, the facility in Ann Arbor. So
okay, well, let's jump right.
There's no intermingling.
Yeah, you better watch it.
Yeah,
all our friends on Facebook are going to get all upset. So let's jump in with the Mackinac Center. You and Chief Staff Dan Bazura recently attended the Mackinac Policy Conference sponsored by the Detroit Regional Chamber. For our viewers, that is a statewide conference of political and economic leaders that focuses on the state's economic future. What were your best general takeaways? Let's start with generally. I know it was your first time attending.
Yes. Okay. So just to give a little background, last year when I got into office, a lot of the new mayors said that they were going. It was something that I didn't really want to go to, and you know, wasn't sure if I should. You know, I know one of the people that I served with on council had went before, and so I started talking to other mayors when they got back. Started talking to a few other people. And actually, our TIFA president, Ron Moran, had been there many, many times, and he said, you know, absolutely, Tim, you should consider going to this, and because it's your first time, you should probably take, you know, Dan Bazura with you, you know. So I said, well, would TIFA be, you know, and they said absolutely. So they okayed us to go, and it was incredible. It was networking 5.0. I mean, there was thousands of people there, but it was unbelievable. It was literally, that's all I can say. Like, your morning started out, I was usually up at 7, you know, from the time I got off the ferry over there, you know, it was going from one thing, went back, and just the next day, you know, I was up at 7:30. You usually had like some sort of breakfast meeting or something somewhere, and then you went up to the Grand Hotel, and I didn't stay there, but the whole front porch of the Grand Hotel, which is really huge,
big,
you know, and then even on the inside of it, was just packed with people, and literally you would just walk up and down, and so there was all kinds of networking, and I would run into you and you would introduce me into 5 or 6 people, you know, and it was just one of those things. And even on the taxi ride, like part of your, you know, credentials when you got there, you got taxi tickets from your hotel, you could take the horse and buggy up, you know, and stuff. I would have great meetings on that. You know, you'd look down and say, oh, you know, hey, you're with so-and-so, or they would say, hey, you're the mayor of Taylor, you know, and just really good meetings. And actually, I got a few follow-up meetings next week from some of the run-ins at Mackinac Island.
Well, speaking of the little horse and carriage thing, I understand that when you guys first got off, that Dan talked you into walking from the ferry up there. That's a tough walk.
Trust me. So that was actually Kevin Kraus. So who was the economic? Right. When I got into Mackinac City, I ran into Kevin at the ferry. You know, so we rode the ferry over to the island. And Mayor McCray from Romulus was already there, and he said, you know, we should just go right up to the Grand Hotel and then go back to our hotel. So our hotel was kind of like right next to the fort, you know, and the Grand Hotel is, like you said, up a hill.
Yeah, you're going this way
so as I told Kevin when we got in there, I said, Kevin, you know, I've been to Mackinac Island many times. I just never stayed there. And I'm like, Kevin, that's kind of a hike. And because I was going to be driving 4 hours, I just wore like some khaki shorts and some tennis shoes and a polo, you know. And he was in like kind of dress clothes and stuff, and I'm like, Kevin, that's a hike up there, you know. So sure enough, we started walking, and we were both kind of huffing and puffing and had to take a little bit of a break halfway up, you know. And once we got up there, we got those tickets. We're like, yeah, we're going to take the cab back down to our hotel and stuff.
I was going to say.
Usually in the morning, I would take a cab up.
Right.
And then kind of, you know, at the end of the day, I would walk down a little bit where, you know, Bezzura wants to walk everywhere. And I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. I'm a big guy, and I'm dressed up, and I don't want to get off.
The walk down to the town is a lot easier than the walk
100%, absolutely. And you usually stopped and saw people on the way, so it wasn't, but just walking through downtown, you ran into all kinds of people, and it was just, it was definitely a great experience in my opinion.
Any awkward moments? I know being a newbie up there, and plus, your first term mayor, you're a newbie to the conference. Any awkwardness, or it all just kind of flowed together?
That was one of my concerns, walking into a room and not knowing anybody.
Sure.
So, I mean, that was like, that's where Ron did give us great advice, having Dan there, I at least felt like. But sometimes me and Dan would kind of divide and conquer, like you go this way, I'll go that way, and stuff. And, the day is so busy. But, walking into a room and not knowing anybody or something, and, I'm usually pretty good to be able to start up a conversation. But the great thing is every room I walked into, I knew somebody, and then they would introduce me to other people. And the good thing was, when people heard that Taylor was coming, we had a few people that wanted to meet with us.
Which is great.
Which is great, yeah. We're a town of 65,000 people, and so it was nice that, we had some developers, and there seems to be some pretty good interest going on here, and that's a good thing.
What was Dan's take? I know he's not here to represent himself.
Well, I kind of told him that, hey, Ron said we should probably, Dan Bezzura, he wasn't really too keen on going, and I said, look, I'm not really either, but I think it's something we should at least go. And but it was funny, I think on Thursday, we were just, because Carl, you're going from one event to another, and everything's like, once you leave the Grand, but there's guest speakers there too, which is really cool. And then, there's like all these events. There's the Jockey Club, like GM is holding something over there, Ford's doing something here, or GCSI, and so you go to these little mixers, so to speak, and but you're usually grabbing, and you're eating standing up or something. So I think it was Thursday. We were kind of getting done with things, and I said, let's just go sit down and eat somewhere, and so me and Dan went to dinner, and we were eating, and he's like, I think I'm really glad we came to this, and I'm like 100%. He goes, it was a good thing, and we both agreed on that, and it was kind of funny hearing it from him, leading up, because I just kept saying, hey, did you register? Did you register? Yeah, I'll get to it. Like, okay, don't blame me here.
During that conference, there are tons of speakers, tons of specific topics. Was there a speaker or a topic that really grabbed your particular interest?
Well, I would have to give it to Mark Cuban from Shark Tank, and the owner of the Dallas Mavericks. He talked about entrepreneurism or something, if I got that right. But just his story and just the way he communicated, it was great. Me, he had no problem ripping on politicians as he was up there in a room full of all of them, and just talking about at the national level, fighting over the littlest things. And then just talked about how, that the entrepreneurs are the ones that come up with an idea with the product, get it to market and all this stuff, and then you politicians try to take credit for it. So he was always throwing them digs in. And then at one point he even said, he says, it's kind of nice, or he kind of laughed it, but you could tell he meant it. He's like, I'm in a situation where I don't need anything from anyone, so I can pretty much say whatever I want, And it was, it was really good, but Mayor Duggan had a great, talked about that new tax, had no idea that Detroit had 460 some scrap yards.
Wow.
And basically in the city of Detroit, if you let your city or your building, if you own a building and you let it go into, horrible situation, it benefits you. And he's saying, we got to change this. So he's now going by the business as opposed to the site and stuff like that. So he's got to get a little help in Lansing to make that happen, but from what I understand, the speaker is behind it. So I think, with the majority up there, I think he's going to be able, and it's right. He's got some buildings in his city that are just in horrible shape, and literally the owners are not paying any taxes on it because they're in such disrepair. It benefits them, and it drops their assessed value and everything. So he wants to change that, and I thought that was a brilliant idea. But William Ford was there. Got to watch him. The governor was there. But watching Bill Ford talk about workers in the, in 2023, and how everything has changed since COVID, and trying to bring in new help is tough, and you got to do different things to get them in and stuff. And I can tell you, we're dealing with that. Trying to hire people and, get people in. It's
it is very difficult.
They kind of have demands, and it's making things a little tougher, and then just trying to get people as a whole. Carl, as you know, we can't open our pool right now because we cannot get lifeguards, and it's a shortage throughout the country. And back in the day, you would think, man, I could make $12-13 an hour sitting by a pool all day.
Exactly.
And it's only a 4-foot pool, so it's you still got to be on alert. But it's literally probably everybody could stand up and be okay, unless they're a little one. But. So we're trying. We're doing everything we can. I did see the little commercial we're running with Joe. So we're trying to find ways. We desperately need cooks at our golf course. We offer a great starting wage, and we offer benefits, and a lot of cooks don't get that. So if anybody knows any cooks, we're definitely looking, and our golf courses are great places to work.
Taylor Summerfest is on tap. As soon as we're done here, we've got about a week to go, and this will be going on. We've got Thursday, June the 22nd through Sunday, June the 25th. Concerts on the 23rd and 24th. The fireworks are on the 24th. Looking forward to all of it. I know you enjoyed it last year.
I am. Last year was an eye-opener. I realized I work a little more than what I thought. It's a lot of running around, busy time. I know Guido and Melanie, they're all gearing up and kind of. I called Guido yesterday, and he's like, "Mayor, can we wait until we get past the festival?" And I'm like, "You know what, Guido? I'm sorry, I didn't. I keep forgetting it's next week.
It seems like it's come on
really quick. So luckily, we got all our bands squared away, and I think it's going to be a good show. Let's just hope and pray we get good weather, and. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm not super familiar with the country night, but I'll be there and give a listen to it, and definitely be there for the fireworks.
Unlike some of the past seasons and festivals, very difficult lining up, especially country acts this year, wasn't it?
Well, as you can see, any music lover, everybody's on tour this year. My daughter just went to what's her name last weekend in Detroit.
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift. My daughter's been a fan since she was a little girl, and she got lucky. She was able to get tickets from a friend that bought better tickets. So, but I've been to a few concerts already this year. Everybody's on tour, and a lot of people are pooling together and having these bigger tours. But now you have a lot of people are starting to go back to having their summer events, other cities, but we have casinos as well. There's a couple new venues in Wyandotte. So a lot of these, when you book a band, they can't play anywhere else for a certain amount of time prior to that or whatever. And it's really created a little bit of a headache. It's literally, we had our budget ready to go in November of last year, and we didn't book our bands until, I think our first one until, what, a month or two ago? And it was just, and country was kind of last minute, So, we're trying to bring in good, talent, national talent. Eva Under Fire is really starting to blow up. If you listen to Riff, their song's on a regular play. It's called Time Bomb, which is really good. She's got a really good voice. And I think I just read something where they're one of the top up-and-comer rock bands, which, unfortunately, rock is kind of on life support, it seems like, these days. So I'm glad to see younger people getting involved in it and stuff. But, and Gin Blossoms have been around since the early 90s, I think, and I've always liked them. So I'm looking forward to it. The one thing I tell everybody is, probably being on city council and stuff, going to these shows, I'm seeing bands that I probably would never go and see or maybe pay for or whatever, but they've all been really good. Like I remember, I was kind of teasing Mayor Sollers about bringing Loverboy in. If you remember, and they've been our biggest show ever, and they were phenomenal. So it was.
And we talked, you and I have shared
I went to him and I said I was wrong.
Same thing with Starship. I know Mayor Sollers didn't even know who Starship.
They've kind of evolved to Jefferson Airplane, and stuff like that, and but. Really, there hasn't been a band that I went, man, they're not good at all. I think everybody we brought in has been pretty good, and I like live music. So it's kind of nice. Like we were in a situation where we thought, okay, If we can't get anybody,
Right.
you know, we were going to look for like local or, you know, these cover bands, you know, like I think a few years ago we
Yeah.
had a Journey
Oh, sure.
and
Yeah, yeah.
the Rolling Stones
Right.
cover bands and
Right.
stuff like that. Those are always a good time. 50 Amp Fuse is a local
Very-
band.
and they're very good.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they're very popular. They have quite a following, and I've seen them many times, and I think they're great.
Right. You know, when you've been to this Taylor Summerfest forever, okay, and especially over the past years, you've spent some time behind the scenes, being a council person, then being mayor. Any changes? I mean, there are additions, things like that you'd like to see happen. I know, you know, in the past we've brought in the hot air balloons.
Yeah,
We've
that was
tried
really
the color
cool.
run. You know, those kind of things. Is there anything that you're thinking?
Well,
of?
that's what I told Guido about that. I mean, not anything specifically
Right.
offhand, but like something else, you know, like let's do something else on, you know, the Friday or whatever, you know, like
Sure.
whether it be a car show or something
Right.
like that, you know, just, you know, and I did bring up the hot air balloons. We got lucky there because weather was great,
yeah,
you know, so
exactly.
that's the one tough
Exactly.
thing about that. And people really enjoyed that, especially in the night when they lit them up and stuff.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I thought it was pretty cool. But yeah, we're definitely looking at that, Carl, but I don't have anything, you know.
Yeah, nothing solid.
Right,
now.
yeah. So
Okay.
we're looking
All right.
at other things that we can possibly do to kind of just make that experience that much better.
Parks and Recreation Department is either putting the finishing touches on major improvements or starting some in many areas. Guido Yulin all over the place right now. Let me read some of these off and give me your impressions of each as we go through. The Taylor Recreation Center, the newest addition was the replacement of the walking track on the second floor, along with the ceiling grid and LED fixtures, which really put the finishing touches on renovations of the weight room, the cardio room, in addition to the fit room, a spinning room.
locker room.
Places almost, locker room, the basics. Places is almost brand new.
It's 100%. I mean, within the last, I think, probably 2-3 years, that entire building has been redone. You know, and if people haven't been through there, take a walk through there. They don't charge you if you want to just check it out or whatever. I think it looks great. You know, Guido kind of spearheaded all that, and that place is really nice. It's much improved. When I go in there, I talk to people using the weight room. They're really happy with it. The cardio room, same thing. I did pop in and see the new track. It's really nice, and now they kind of cut that one area out where if you want to stretch and
Right.
do all that other stuff.
Right.
So it's really nice. You know, we want to make that you know, a lot of people kind of either forget about that place or don't realize that, but to me it's another little hidden gem. You know, it's not one of those. You know, we do have quite a few gyms, and we have a lot of competition in the city when it comes to gyms, but you know, we still have the racquetball, volleyball courts over there. We have to where if you do the CrossFit, you know, a room for that. We have the batting cages in
Sure,
there and stuff.
sure.
So there's a lot of things there. I think it's a little hidden gem that a lot of people tend to forget about. So if you get a chance, you know,
And it's not
go
like
check
it's
out.
not like it's not busy because Taylor Dance is on the other
Yes,
wing.
absolutely.
You've got the business center up front, which is
Yep.
currently all
Yep.
occupied. You know, for people who don't like the hubbub of some of these really big workout places, this is kind of a nice option.
That's what I think, you know, and not many places have an indoor walking facility.
Right,
So I
right,
mean,
right.
and a lot of the dance parents take advantage of that. They get the gym membership. They take their kid to dance and work out while their kids learning to dance.
Without a doubt. Activities building, okay, over in Heritage Park, gutted, renovated on the interior and the exterior, created a huge new banquet facility in there. I think we're going to be showing some photos of that Sam Rickert took. That sounds like a great idea when you talk. You got a church on site, you got a gazebo, you got one of the most scenic parks, and then all of a sudden you slide a banquet center in there.
Well, that's one of the things, Carl. Like, and Guido brought this to us and we thought it was an excellent idea. You know, tax revenue and everything is here, but insurance and employee costs and all that stuff are going up. So we have to find new ways to bring revenue into the city. It's the nature of the beast, you know. So Guido is always looking at it. Guido wants to basically have his entire department self-sustained from revenue that's brought in from either, you know, the splash pad, the rentals, and all that stuff. So he came in with that idea, and we thought it was incredible, and it looks awesome in there.
It does. It looks
it's
beautiful.
literally like if you have your wedding at the church, you walk, what, 100 yards, if
Right.
that, you know,
Yeah.
you got the gazebo right there.
Right.
It's an all-in-one package, kind of. You can do your pictures right there in Heritage Park.
Plenty of parking.
You can do it, you know, and even in the winter, you know, you can walk over to the hall. You know, they always make sure the walkways are clean and salted and stuff in the wintertime. But, you know, more and more people are getting married in the wintertime because of availability. So we are in talks with the person that used to rent the hall, or rent the church.
Yes.
We kind of want to do a one, you know, but we'll probably oversee the rental of the hall, you know, and but to me, I think it would be a great opportunity to kind of have a package deal. And it's really nice. So what we're planning on doing, this is what I called Guido about yesterday, is we want to have like an open house, you know, kind of open the church up, let everybody see, because it's beautiful.
Yes.
I mean, they did a phenomenal job. I know we were waiting on like a couple light fixtures and I think maybe a couple of the stained glass windows.
Yeah.
So, but you know, this is where he said, "Hey, Mayor, can we wait until after summer?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I didn't think about that." So we're gonna have something like that, and that way people can come in and see the church and the hall as well.
Right. And that's, you know, I think, I know our friend Dave Gorgon with Heritage Park Photo of the Day.
Yeah, he got a little exclusive.
Yes, he got a nice
tour.
exclusive. He beat the magazine's coming out with the same thing, but he beat us to it, which is, Dave's good, man. But it really looks beautiful. And you know, when you talk about bringing that home, okay, I don't think the community has been waiting for that. They take a lot of pride, not only in the park, but the church is iconic.
There's a lot of people that got married there too. I mean, when Dave posted the pictures, did you
absolutely.
see all the comments?
Right.
You know, we got married there 10, 20 years ago and stuff. So, you know, there's that nostalgia, you know, and it's really nice. It's going to look a little different, you know, and there's some things we couldn't get from, you know, years ago, you know, and stuff. So we wanted to make it look, you know, pretty much the same, but there's definitely some upgrades and stuff. So beautiful facility.
It does look beautiful. It looks better than new almost. Okay.
I think so.
Well, I think the families, the German families that built that church 2 centuries ago, would take a lot of pride.
I think
in
they would
seeing
be. I think they'd be proud. You know.
Railroad Car and Caboose. That was a tricky one, but you're a history buff. I think you really enjoyed the background to that renovation. We brought a historical expert in. That's all pretty much done. I think there's maybe some minor decaling that needs to be done on those.
I think they did that.
Did they
not
do it?
positive.
Did they
I
step
thought it
in
was
and do it?
100% complete. But yeah, we brought in an expert to assist the people that were doing the work, because we wanted it to be, you know, is the way it was, you know, and they did that, and I think they look really well, and I know a lot of residents were happy about that, because literally, if you remember, we almost had to just scrap them because we couldn't find anybody that could fix them or whatever. So luckily, it just happened. We found somebody, and then the gentleman from the railroad historical joined kind of the team and assisted us with that, and it turned out to be a great product, you know, and both of them, I think, are the original colors, you know, and
the Caboose was actually
one is
orange.
we got isn't one side one color and the other?
Well, no.
One
one side is dedicated to one railroad.
That's right.
And the other one is to the other railroad. And it's 2 photo ops, which is really kind of cool. You know, that's really neat. You know, I remember what you were talking, because I was in that meeting, okay, and there was a default to, what would it take to get rid of these cars?
Right.
Because we're fencing them off right now. They're a
we
mess.
were going to need a crane or something.
My
how we were
goodness
going to get them
gracious.
out of there. You know, it was, but nobody wanted to do that.
Right.
You know, and but it was definitely an obstacle trying to, you know, we were at the point where, like, okay, we can't find anybody to fix them. They look horrible.
Right.
So we're going to have to make a decision here, and luckily at the last minute we found somebody that bid the project and brought in the historical knowledge of it, and I think it turned out to be great.
Last 2 on my list are a couple real game changers, and one is the Heritage Park lighting that has just gone underway, and you're smiling because I know that was something that you really, really looked forward to. Guido Hewlin, I did a story for the magazine on all of this stuff, and Guido Hewlin literally looked me in the eye and said, "I'm telling you, this lighting inside the park on those trails is going to be a game changer for Heritage Park. It's going to change the whole look."
Yeah, I used to kind of talk about that back in the council days and stuff, and then when I got in, I sat down with Guido Ewan and said, what's it going to take? What do we got to do this?
Right.
Got with Chris Klemchuk, can we use
Sure.
CDBG funds and
Yeah.
all this other stuff? So met with quite a few people, and Guido's like, Tim, we can make this happen.
Right.
And he's like, this is going to be big, and excited
Oh,
about it, that
yeah.
people really would
Yeah.
like it, and I know it's just something that I thought we needed. Mr. Bazura, Greg,
Yeah.
as used to always say, now you said you were going to light that back up because it is very dark back there
Right.
at night.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it's the park still has hours, but at the end of the day, there's people like even in the fall and the spring, it gets dark early, and there's
Right.
people that get off work that want to walk.
They're
that.
still walking, yeah.
And there's people that like to ride their bikes and stuff, and it just needed to be lit up, and I didn't want it to be like a this huge light beacon, but so I asked Guido, I said, hey, go talk to the neighbors on the other side of the fence to the north. They were all elated, because I didn't want them being disturbed by the lighting. They were more than happy. They were saying, great, that needs to be lit up. Now, the only part of this scope was, and we didn't realize it until afterwards, it didn't include what I call Lover's Lane down there.
Yes, yes.
So,
on
but there are poles down there that we will eventually fix some lighting fixtures that face down in there,
Right.
not the outside, but they'll face down in there to kind of keep people out there from doing what they do.
Fantastic idea. And another hidden benefit of this, and I remember this goes back several years ago, then Chief Mary Sklobassi, when we were doing Neighborhood Watch, she did a presentation on common sense ways to cut down on crime.
Right.
And number one is lights.
Absolutely.
Exterior
Yep.
lights.
Lights and dogs.
Right, exactly.
They keep people
and,
away.
And I know about dogs in
Yeah.
the park, but I'll tell you, you light up the park, and all of a sudden, people who were out there, maybe at 11 o'clock with some hanky-panky, okay, that vandalism may go away,
Right.
which is a real
Well,
positive.
and I think there's drug use going on
Oh,
as
yeah,
well and
yeah.
stuff like that. So we want to deter that from our parks.
Right.
What you do in your own home is your business, but don't come to our parks to kind of do that stuff. But I'm really excited about it, and driving through there, seeing the post, seeing something that come to fruition, was kind of put a smile on my face, and a lot of people have approached me about it and are very happy about that. So.
Last up, we're into the first phase of the Lang Park recreation. Playscape, 3 pavilions, 18-hole disc golf course. This is just phase one of several phases in a partnership between us and Wayne County. You've really taken the bull by the horns there. You got to be looking forward to this actually moving now.
This is, I'm very excited about that. So literally we're picking colors for like the playground equipment right now,
Right.
And so it's starting to move, part of it was the paintball company that used to be there, getting those spindles out of there. And, we kind of said, hey, do you want them or whatever? Because if not, we were going to have some good training for our fire department,
Yeah.
because those things
Yeah.
are giant and wood,
Right.
and stuff. So, and talking with Chief Portis, he's like, yeah, that would be great, So, but they're coming. I think they've gotten them all out of there now and stuff and all their equipment. So we're going to start moving ground and, piece by piece, we're going to go in there and do things. And I'm really excited about it. And people should start noticing things going on over there.
5-10 years from now, I think we're going to look back and say, wow, another game changer.
Yeah, we hope so. That's
Yeah.
what we think. And, when we presented it to the county, they were very excited about it because, there was another project that we didn't think was all that great, and said, hey, let's work on Lang Park. We want to do something in that end. Let's bring that park back to life, and that's what we did. And Wayne County was like, absolutely, at the last minute, but we really had to move to make it happen with the timeline. So
It seems like every time we mention parks-related improvements, the public brings up another.
Yeah.
Any idea where the future might take us with other parks? And we don't want to scare Guido Ewan out there yet,
yeah.
but where we might go or where we're headed. Any idea? Outlook Fletcher.
Okay.
That's another one.
Right. So I know we're doing one playscape at a park, I think over by Taylor Chevrolet.
Okay,
And if they haven't done it already,
Right.
we're doing a new playscape there.
Right.
And once that is in, all the playscapes in we have a lot of pocket
Oh,
parks.
yeah,
A lot
yeah.
of people don't realize that. So that will be the last of all, like probably over the last 10 years,
Right.
that all those have been changed. I know the schools did it with all their elementary
Right,
schools as
which is
well.
a real
Yeah,
positive,
those are really
you know.
nice too, you know. And so that's the case with all the pocket parks. We put a lot of walkways in, stuff like that, to make them more family friendly for the neighborhoods. Unfortunately, we do get a lot of graffiti and, you know, destruction on there. So
That's gonna happen.
yeah,
Yeah.
it kind of becomes a headache a little bit, but you know, at the end of the day, we want to give people. So if anybody sees writing or spray paint stuff that should not be there, let us know and we will get to it. We don't drive around and inspect these, you know, on a regular basis. We just don't have the people to do it. We go and empty the trash and all that stuff. But, you know, or even if there's drug paraphernalia and stuff like that, let us know immediately and we'll get somebody out there. But
And you're not joking about that, Tim, because, you know, it seems like when people call in, John's crew, the building and grounds guy, they're out there literally
absolutely.
the next day.
Yeah, they'll
cleaning
usually
it
go,
up.
and if it's
Yeah.
like, if you call during the day today, they go right there and take care of
Right,
it, you know,
right, exactly.
especially if there's drugs or something like
Right,
that there.
right.
But Fletcher Park, you know, we're still, that's still in the mix. We're looking at, like I said, the biggest thing is trying to get a parking lot there first
Right.
because, you know, there's a grant that we can probably, I want to get pickleball there.
Gotcha.
Pickleball
Okay.
is the #1 growing sport right now. We have a few locations that we're thinking about that we could maybe put some pickleball courts. Nick Dramacicino, who works at our
Yes.
golf course,
Yes.
brought up a good point. He's like, Mayor, at Lakes, he's like, that corner over there really isn't used a lot. We could put some pickleball courts right there. And I'm like,
Well, yeah.
we already got the parking, you know. I'm
Right.
like, that's not a bad idea, Nick. I appreciate that, you know. So, but, you know, I'd say I want to get something in Fletcher Park,
Right.
you know, and you know, we do have nice walking trails there and stuff like that. But we need to get something over there, and it's
Gotcha.
just a matter of kind of waiting on a grant type thing. And
You can't do everything
no,
everything at
it's
once.
a process, you know.
Yeah, exactly. We're looking at major infrastructure improvements this time of year all over the place. We recently repaved almost 20 residential streets that you queued up at the end of last year, filtered into this spring. Currently working on a major water main project on Wick. We're completing Area 27 of Good to Great, pending council approval. What would be next on the hit list here?
Well, so right now we just met last week, finalizing, you know, the neighborhoods that we're going to hit with the roads.
Correct.
You know, like we just did all the. So you know, kind of the game plan is we have 3 neighborhoods that we want to do,
Okay.
and we think that'll pretty much tackle a vast majority of our asphalt neighborhoods.
Okay.
So our goal is we're going to go back to council, ask for a little more money so we can complete all 3 of these neighborhoods. The issue right now is I think our concrete and asphalt is going back out to bid.
Okay.
So we don't have the new numbers, kind of what we're looking at. So that's why, but we think if we knock these 3 out, the following year, next budget year, we can start putting more money in the cement.
Okay.
And, you know, so again, this is a process too. You know,
Sure,
you want to look at, we get what's called a PACER rating.
Right.
And they go every 2 years, they go and grade all of our roads and stuff like that. So that's what we've been basing it on. You know, if I think red has failed or, you know, and that's what we look for. We look for that red and stuff like that. So over the years, we've been doing pretty good. And probably in the next year or 2, most of our roads in the neighborhoods have been redone. Now, there's still a few here and there that will go in, but we're tackling neighborhoods.
Right.
You know, and this year we wanted it, but it was all done this spring. I think they're close to finishing up. And so we got 3 neighborhoods offhand, but I'm not going to say anything until council
it's locked up,
approves you know, because if they don't, then we're going to have to figure out which 2 of the 3 we're going to do this year.
Right, exactly. People, you know, I think one of the common refrains is, you know, why do you do road renovations, patchwork with panel replacement with the cement? You know, my road has been, you know, my street's been horrible forever and you've never gotten to it. People really don't understand the cost factors that go in, and the fact that you just the money flowing in just is not sufficient to do all these renovations.
And Carl, this is one of the things that I kind of learned up in Mackinac. So I was talking to Assad Turfy, who is the deputy to Warren Evans, our county executive.
Right.
Act 51. That's how we get road money.
Right.
That's how the state bases it. But what I didn't know is they go by length. So if Taylor has a length of road that's 5 miles long, that's 4 lanes, and some other city has a length of road that's 5 miles, that's 2 lanes. They get the same amount as we do.
Really?
In southeast Michigan, our Wayne County has the most 3, 4, 5 lanes, some 6 lane roads
Naturally.
than anybody.
Yeah.
So we're kind of getting the short end of the stick, and I'm like, I didn't know that, and it was such an eye opener. And so there's definitely some discussion about Act 51 reform, trying to kind of better serve. However, when you have politicians that represent those,
Oh, absolutely.
cities that
Yeah.
are only 2 lanes as
Right.
opposed to, they may not be open to, discussing redoing it. That's the political side of it. So that was, I'm like, wow, I did not know that, so
That's
it's
amazing.
tough,
Yeah.
and the county is responsible for townships as well. And, Canton is a big township,
Right.
and they have to fix their roads, and it's,
In other words,
I don't know, that's quite
in
right.
other words, none of this is easy.
It's not, and it's, and the price of cement is still very expensive,
Sure,
man. It's
sure.
just, I think a mile of road, because you got to tear it out,
Right. Right.
and then put
Right.
new stuff in and all.
Right.
I think it's over $1 million for a mile.
And on top of that,
plus
we're in Michigan.
per mile.
We're in Michigan, so you're going to have some down seasons.
Yes.
It's not like you're in Florida where you can just do this around the
It
clock.
was funny because we did go recently to Florida on vacation with the family, and I'm just sitting there thinking, man, it must be so nice to just not have to worry about winters.
Oh, absolutely.
Salt
Yeah,
trucks and
yeah.
plows and
Right,
all that,
right.
and that's a huge cost.
Right. Oh,
So
yeah.
to plow a street, the vehicles, and now we got to wait to get these vehicles
Right.
and stuff. So
Right.
it's always a juggling act.
It's
and-
tough. It's
but
tough.
luckily, I got great directors that are on top of that.
Right.
So now it's almost like, and council, like I said, has been great about that. Is we may have to order a fire truck now to get it in 2 years.
Yeah.
So I might not even be here.
It's amazing.
It's just
It's
those
amazing.
are the things that we gotta. That's how we're kind of doing business now.
Right. Right.
It's tough.
Over the past couple months, you've appointed some new employees to key positions. Melanie Shahade in Parks and Recreation and Events, replacing Chelsea Nunley, and Tom Collins at the TSX, replacing Darren Grabowski, who moved over here to City Hall. Thoughts on each of them?
Well, Tom, Tom worked under Darren for the longest
Yes.
time. He's fitting in really well. I think he's doing a great job. He just kind of spoke at his first TIFA meeting all by himself, and so we had to tease him a little bit, being the rookie. And then, Melanie was great at the petting farm. It was
Right.
one of those, she's so new in that position.
Yeah.
I haven't had time to evaluate her, but how she conducted herself over at the petting farm was unbelievable. Everybody called her the animal whisperer, and it's kind of tough sometimes, Carl, because some of these people were so good at what they do. Like
yeah.
when Darren left to come over to purchasing, it's like,
Oh, well,
I
quite
hate
frankly,
to see him leave because he
yeah.
did so good there.
Right,
But
right.
Tom has stepped up and done an
Right.
incredible job, and I
Right.
know Melanie will do the same. You
Right.
know, so Melanie was really active as far as the events and stuff that
Right.
Chelsea would do. You'd always see Melanie there.
Right,
So
right.
she's definitely a team player and will do a great job. I know that.
Yeah, and last year was probably a good primer for Mel, anyways, because Chelsea was having her first baby,
Yes, yeah.
and that kind of took her out of circulation at times. Melanie
had to step in a
and
little bit.
Allison, the rest of them, Madeline, all of them had to step in. I think they're a little bit probably more used to what we're looking.
Carl, that's one thing that I really want to give, praise to a lot of our employees. In this day and age, there's the turnaround. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Sure,
It's we're losing people to for money. A lot of
Right.
people are offering people to work from home.
Right.
That's a tough thing because
Right.
we service the public.
Right.
Now, do I think we could maybe do that in some departments? Yeah, but then you get dissension amongst others. Like, well, why do they get to work?
Oh,
And
yeah, exactly.
It's a tough pill. And so we're trying to figure out a way, to keep people. But the good thing is when we leave, when somebody leaves, there's no hard feelings, which is good. I totally understand somebody wanting to better themselves, you know, or spend more time with their family.
Sure.
But the other employees are stepping in.
Yeah.
You know, we, you know, our cook situation, you know, down at the golf course, our managers, our, you know, our new food and beverage manager is, you know, and it's, but I get a little nervous because I don't want them to get burnt out as soon as they come in, you know, and we brought Nancy back, Nancy O'Connell, you know, who used to work here. We brought her back.
Sure.
I talked to her, and I'm elated to have her. But with our cook situation, I don't want her to say, you know what, I didn't realize, you know, I don't, you know. So it's scary, you know. But so many of our employees are just stepping up in a situation where we need them to, and that's great. And I'm very appreciative of that. You know, they do a great job, and I know it's tough. But they're filling the shoes, and we're trying to get them the help they need as quick as possible. But it's hard.
Right.
It's hard.
On one hand, you're still looking for a new economic developer, and on one hand, that's not an easy position to fill, like some of these other director levels are, especially when you talk about what we can offer toward what maybe the private sector can offer to some of these people. But on the other hand, I was going to throw in that I know you and I were talking about this yesterday. Having Tim Keys back on a part-time consultant basis, I mean, Tim has a wealth of knowledge, ridiculous. His background is ridiculous. People like Nikki Hartley have stepped up. Paula Fisher has stepped up. We've got Chris Klimchuk, who's in community development. He's a good crossover guy. What's your take on all of this? I know Rome isn't built in a day. You can't hire everybody.
Well, you know, it's tough. Like we made an offer to a person for economic development. In the past, economic development director also saw golf and hockey.
Yes.
And we wanted to get back to the way it was. We wanted to bring somebody in that specifically is economic development.
Sure.
Well, as we started to go down that road, we didn't realize the kind of money those people cost.
Right.
And it's a little out of our league.
Yeah.
So we still wanted to go down that road, but we knew that we were probably going to get, at the amount of money we can pay, we're probably going to get the people that are below the top chair, you know, the second and third chair, that's looking for an opportunity to move up, you know. So that's how we've kind of marketed, or we've put it out there, you know, we're willing, but, you know, money is always a big thing. We did make an offer to somebody we were pretty excited about. To his credit, he said, I'd like, you know, I'm working on a project, let me finish. I want to give my employer 4 weeks notice. We said, no, we'll honor that, you know, and luckily we have Tim to kind of bridge that gap since George left. And unfortunately, he was supposed to start on Monday. On Thursday, he emailed us and said he got a better opportunity at his current position. So he wasn't going to come, you know. And we were a little nervous about the 4 weeks because we all, you know, Dan said that's a lot of time for an employer to be able to, and that's another thing we're running into. You know, we don't know if people are using all these job opportunities as a way to, you know, up their pay at their current position, or if they really want to come here. So that kind of set us back 4 weeks, you know. So now we're getting ready to put it back out again, and you know, we'll see what happens. But it's just, that's one of the obstacles that we're dealing with on a regular basis. But we believe, especially right now, and that's where, you know, Paula has been instrumental in both, because, you know, when economic wasn't there, she was kind of carrying the torch for that. And then when we didn't have CDBG, she was kind of, so she's another huge person that stepped up big time for us. But it's just always, you know, it seems like we hire somebody new and 2 people either retire or leave. You know, it's kind of, you know, putting our finger in the hole in the dam somewhat, you know.
Absolutely. You and the city of Taylor were featured in the most recent edition of Crain's Business magazine, Detroit, focusing on the Metro 94 Commerce Center, which is being built. You were able to highlight a lot of business activity going around the city, and it is really busy when it comes to business development in the city of Taylor.
Yeah, I'm really happy. That article was unbelievable. Chris Girdwood from Aerotropolis made that happen. It was us, Romulus, Huron Township, and the other one I can't remember what it was.
Brownstown or someplace like that.
No, it was another township.
Van Buren, maybe.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So, we're all part of Aerotropolis, which that article was great because it came out just before the Mackinac Island Conference.
Right.
So those were all over the place. The magazine and stuff like that were, and I had quite a few people.
Aren't you him?
People came up to me and said, "Hey, I read your article, and that's really good," and definitely got some good conversations started.
Right.
But the thing I'm really happy about right now is we're getting a lot of phone calls on property. We're talking. Like one of the things I said with Chris, who also markets the city of Taylor through the Aerotropolis, is we're getting him a list of all of our property, and then that way we have it. We got a few grants through Aerotropolis to where we're going to have some of our sites in the city of Taylor that we own what called build ready. So if somebody calls and says, hey, I want to open a manufacturing facility, I need 40 acres. We have 40 acres ready to go right now. You can start building immediately. So, and that's a process, with all the permitting and everything like that. So we're getting a lot of calls, and I think COVID made the country realize we're really dependent on foreign countries for everything. So it seems like we're getting more and more manufacturing calls, or people that are wanting to do that in the region. Right. So that's good. I'm excited about that.
Well, Taylor, being as big as it is and an economic driver downriver, has always had a certain allure to larger facilities. We've got some really active corridors of development and things like that. But the one thing that I've noticed, maybe especially since the pandemic, is so many smaller businesses appear to be booming around town. And a lot of people complain about strip malls, but some of the strip malls that have gone in recently in Taylor, extremely attractive. They look really modern, new. Some of the ones on Telegraph, the Malik's, Pete's.
I think
he does really nice job with everything.
I know it looks like work is being done in every one of them, so I think he's probably at capacity now. But that's what we want to see. They came to council, or when I was on council, and they wanted to. If you remember, I think it was originally an old hotel.
Yes.
And then they kind of converted it. It needed. It was definitely older. I mean, it had some cool architecture, but it was definitely run down. And to see what it is now is really nice. But that's what, as residents, myself, the new building is what is beneficial to us, because a lot of people think that if there's a building there and it's not being rented, there's no tax. The person that owns that building is paying taxes whether somebody's in it or not.
Right.
The new building adds to our tax base. We want new housing developments. I think it's MJC, they're trying to get rolling down off of kind of that Telegraph Pennsylvania corner, but they're having permit issues. So new housing, new business, they're getting ready to. Chick-fil-A is happening. They're getting ready to start tearing down here probably in the next month or so. I believe all their permits are finally done, taken care of. That's new build, and that's more taxes for the city of Taylor. They're building over. A lot of people have been asking me about the Tubbies. They're building They're building a coffee facility there and kind of combining or reworking the drive-through or whatever. So new building. We're getting a lot of calls on Telegraph Road. The city does own a few pieces of property. We do have some things going on Telegraph that people has mentioned they'd like to see in the city of Taylor, but until those plans are turned in, I can't. But they're getting ready to sign the purchase of the property. So once they do that, I know they're coming. So I won't have to make plans on that or wait on plans on that. So.
It's just nice to see not only these large builds coming in, like a UniFirst or whatever, and some of these small ones in these. But then we have, like you were over celebrating Scoops. Okay,
25
they've been
years.
Here for 25 years. And before that, Zap Zone, 25 years. Bunch of them celebrating 25 years. Taylor, percolating town.
Yeah, it's really nice. I talked to Ali from Dairy Queen.
Yes.
And the CEO of Dairy Queen was in his store in Taylor the other day.
Really?
I told him he should have called me. I would have stopped and said hi.
Nice.
But, that is one of the number 1 stores in the region. And I'm telling you, when that's right across the street from me. And me and the wife pop in there on occasion, and but I'm always so impressed by how they run their drive-through.
Right.
Because it's packed.
Right.
It seems like once the clock hits 8 o'clock, that drive-through, and it is most of the time,
Yeah.
but man, they get people through
Right.
there, and it's just a nice, clean, they keep their facility nice, and I'm very proud of them. I'm very happy with them, and he's reaching out. He wants to do other businesses in the city of Taylor as well.
Well, when you look at, talk about a successful run, that's a perfect example. When you look from an ownership management situation, from the time that they decided they were going there to now, it seems like every step of the way, I don't want to jinx him because he's a great guy, but every step of the way has been a first class, this is the right way to do it. From the way they organized the site, their construction was quick, okay, to the point, and now they run a really good business.
Yeah, there's there's a few brothers there. It's Ali Allen. There's a few, I can't remember all their names, but here's the thing, Carl. I have a lot of people that say, I really want to help the city. I want to do this, and I'm like, okay, just reach out or whatever. Ali reaches out to me via like, hey, get your, when we do the snow emergencies, I get a message instantly. Hey, have your DPW plow drivers stop by the restaurant. I give them a hamburger, pop, and French fries.
Gotcha.
And just stuff like that.
Little stuff.
And it's nice.
Goes a long way.
Yeah, and just and it's like, well, I really appreciate that, but you don't have. No, I want to. And he even allows them, because some of those guys work 10, 12, 15 hours that day. They can go back in the next day and get it and stuff. And we have to be cautious on there's limits on what they can accept as far as stuff like that. But that just shows you that he reaches out to me to say, hey, look, and stuff, and that's really nice, and a lot of businesses in the city do that. They help out Summerfest. They want to sponsor things and stuff like that, and I'm really happy, especially when you're seeing the longevity of some of these companies. Like, here's the Scoop, are great people. I'd been over there probably once or twice in my life. I usually hit stuff this side. The Red Barn's over kind of by where I grew up, but. It's nice to see that, and they got a beautiful facility over there. It's really clean, and I think they're doing something next weekend to kind of like a customer appreciation thing. I think they're doing like
I think they're doing a pig roast,
and stuff like that. So I'm really happy for them, and that was good to see. And there's a lot of businesses that's been here quite a while, and I just tell them, reach out, and let us know, and we'll try to make it a point to stop by and congratulate them, and give them something, letter of recognition or something.
June is always a busy month. That's kind of a given with our festival and several other things. But July is going to be really busy too. Telegraph Cruise, Wounded Warrior Charity Ride, another family fun day, Running for Honor in Heritage Park. You're going to be worn out by the time that's
Summer's
done.
busy. It's one of those things. I tell Amy, I always look forward to summer, but sometimes when it gets here, luckily it's been dry, so grass hasn't. But we get tons of calls on grass. People just not taking care of their yard, and I'm going to touch on that real quick.
Okay.
So how that process works. So say if you ride by, if your neighbor's not cutting their lawn,
right?
Our ACOs are in the neighborhoods. They drive around, and sometimes they can't see in backyards. So some people will cut their front lawn, but they don't cut their back. Those are a lot of calls we get, and so what they do is, if somebody calls, we'll go and look and see if we can see or whatever. Then they sticker the door. Usually if you see an orange tag on the door, that means it's been stickered. Depending on the situation, they give them a length of time to take care of it. At that time, say if it's 7 days, they ride by, they look, and they see, okay, it hasn't been touched. They go in and they issue a ticket. If it's really bad, they order a cut. Then it goes to the court process. Once it goes there, there's nothing we can do.
Right.
There's, if we order the cut, they stay on a cut rotation, but I think it's every 3 weeks or something like that. But if it's backyards, we have issues with that because we can't go into somebody's yard without permission like that, something like that. So, that's the whole process, even with ordinance, any ordinance. We go out there, we look at it, we evaluate it. If there's deemed that we can give them a little bit of time. Sometimes it's 30 days, depending on what it is. And then a ticket's issued and it goes into the courts. Once it goes to the courts, we're out of it at that point. And sometimes it is a process. Just trying to get a dangerous home torn down
is a very
long process,
yes.
you know, and it's a matter of if we can get the person to sign off on it right away, but if they don't, then we go through this whole legal battle that can cost, you know, a little bit of money because we got to get lawyers involved, and then, you know, it's you know, it takes almost a year sometimes to get that house taken down, and that's I mean, we got houses in this city that need to be taken down.
Well, when you look at some of these dilapidated situations, especially when you're talking about a dwelling or a building, you know, the other side of that is just human nature. Once it gets into the judicial process, last thing, if you're a judge, last thing you want to do is take somebody's home away.
Right.
You know, and so, you know, it's only human nature that you try to give them the benefit of the doubt. That just lengthens things. And I know that makes people frustrated, but that's reality.
Well, you know, and one of the things is we do, you know, people say, well, you don't do this area, you don't make them do that. We do.
Yeah.
You know, one of the biggest things right now that I'm kind of getting on is parking lots. Parking lots for businesses. You know, it's, you know, a lot of business owners, you know, like I say, when you open a business or you have a business in the city of Taylor, I consider you a resident.
Sure.
But our residents are held to a standard, so are you. And, well, that costs a lot of money. Well, that's the price of doing business. You know, it's like when you got craters in your parking lot, that's an issue. And I know it costs a lot of money, but you know what? You could have done things prior to it getting this way.
Sure.
That, you know, so a lot of it is, you know, hey, you should be happy I own a business here. I am happy, but you got to follow the rules as well. And then that's a process as well, you know, because a lot of times they want to fight, you know. And
yeah, you know, so many times little things can add up to big things. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, if you're not maintaining that parking lot, that surface, it's going to catch up with you. But it's the same thing with if you're not picking up the garbage.
Right.
You know, that's going to catch up with you. If you're not doing the lawn or cutting the shrubbery or whatever. All these things are little things, but if you let them draw out, they cause problems. All you got to do is be a good neighbor.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and trash is another issue. You know, it's a matter of people not closing the lids on their dumpsters, and then trash gets blown up all, you know.
Sure.
I live right off of Telegraph. Every day when I get home, I'm picking trash out of my yard. Every day.
And that's frustrating, no doubt. As we head for the finish line of this show, any shout outs you want to give? Anybody or department or anything else?
You know, I just, you know, definitely Parks and Rec with everything going on right now. He's, Guido's got a lot of things on his plate, but him and his crew, Johnny, but, you know, I think, Carl, I want to shout it out to everyone. A lot of people are kind of picking up right now because we're shorthanded.
Sure.
You know, and it's creating obstacles, but, you know, everybody's really stepping in and pulling a little more, you know, than what they normally would have to do. And I really appreciate that. I really do. And that comes from the bottom of my heart, not just as the mayor, but as a resident, because we're doing everything we can. You know, if people are looking for a job, please go to the City of Taylor website. We have a lot of positions that are available, and we're trying to get people in here as quick as we can to make it easier on everyone and service the residents better, and possibly open some pools. Our pool, a pool.
It
you
would
know,
be
and
nice.
That
That's
would be
for sure.
nice. Yeah, I mean, it's it's clean, it's ready to go, and it's. I hate seeing it sit there empty, but you know we cannot do it legally without the people.
Well, at least for the real little kids, we've got the splash pad open in Heritage Park. That's
the
open
splash pad
Friday,
is open,
Saturday,
yes.
Sunday, and that'll be open through the summertime. And hopefully we get the pool open.
Yep.
Maybe by the time we talk again, it'll be a happy.
Yeah. Hopefully, I see everybody out at the summer festival this upcoming weekend. Not this weekend, but next weekend, and I'm looking forward to that. And you know, I enjoy talking with people, so I usually run into quite a few people there that I know and don't know, and have good conversations. But I'm looking forward to it, and just hoping the weather's good, especially on firework night. You know?
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Well, gang, that's it for now. Another show has bit the dust. For Tim, I'm Carl Zymak. People behind the scenes, Joe Camilleri, Samantha Rickert. We'll see you on the next episode later this year. Have a good one. Stay safe.